Okay, now this one here. Now again, if you have notebook paper, you're going to want to just dedicate one piece, one page per problem. A cube's length is one more unit than the height. A cube's width is two less units than the height. Now units, that could be inches, feet, whatever. A cube's volume is 12 cubic inches. Find each of the dimensions. So a cube, you're finding the length, the width, and the height. So you're going to want to put those three things. Now, I set this up kind of similar to how I was the last time, but this time you need three factors because cube is length, width, height, and that equals the volume. Well, the volume we know to be 12, okay? Now, all this has to be written in terms of the same variable, which is where you use this is stuff. So length is one more unit than the height, so I put h down. None of that twice stuff, it's just one more, so plus 1. Now don't stop there because there's another one. The width is two less units than the height, so width equals two less units for the height, so I go h and minus 2. So in the L, you put h plus 1. In the W, you put h minus 2. And in the h, we're just going to put h itself. Now obviously this needs to be multiplied out. So first I look at this. I'm going to FOIL that. Make kind of a longer parentheses, and then another one. You drop your h down, but we have to multiply that into one product. So I do the FOIL. I take h times h, then I take h times negative 1. If you want to put 1s in front of the h, that's fine. Then I take positive 1 times h, and I take 1 times negative 2. Now this is h to the second. If you want to put a 1, that's fine. This is negative 2h, this is 1h, and negative 2. Now, so you got h to the second, you got h, and you got your constant. So h to the second is 1. The h's add up to negative 1, and then negative 2. Now, we multiply the remaining 2. All you're simply doing is taking all of these times 1h. So we're going to take 1h to the second times 1h. And then we're going to take negative 1h times 1h. And then negative 2 times 1h. Okay, now 1 times 1 is 1, but what's h to the second times h? Well, that's h to the third, okay? Negative 1, h times h is h to the second, and this would just be negative 2 with h. So we have 1h to the third minus 1h to the second minus 2h equals 12. Now h has 3 roots, but we're just going to find one of them, okay? So you'd minus 12. So 1h to the third minus 1h to the second minus 2h minus 12 equals 0. I'm here to tell you today you will not be able to use the grouping method. Okay, that's a prime expression, it can't be factored. So if it can't be factored, we do our RRT and synthetic division. But I'm actually not going to do this. I mean, I'll write it. And I'll explain why we're not, I'll set it up. But the RRT is the most important. You take your end term on top, I don't care if it's negative, and your beginning term, leading coefficient 1 on the bottom. So the constant at the end on top, leading coefficient. Factors of 12, 1, 12, 2 and 6. 12 divided by 3 is 4, and then I stop because the next would be 4. Okay, and I've already had that. Then 1. So you're dividing them all by 1. So 1 divided by 1 is 1, plus or minus. Positive or negative 12. 2 divided by 1 is positive or negative 2. Positive negative 6. Positive negative 3. Positive negative 4. Now, we will not be needing to do the synthetic division, and I will explain why. First, I plug 1 in. 1's on the list. 1's always on the list. That's always a possibility. To the third, minus 1. It's just trial and error. but your list at least simplifies what you would trial and error by. Okay, that did not work. Now 2's on the list of possible numbers on the roots theorem. Didn't work. 3's on the list. Aha, I got 0, so you can put a 3. Well, guess what? I don't care about the other two. 3's a great answer for the height, isn't it? Makes perfect sense. So I don't even need to do this. Well, you're like, well, how are you going to get the length and width? Well, I'm going to come up here. Now that I have h is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4. 3 minus 2 is 1. And also, if you proceeded to do that, you'd get a bunch of imaginary numbers crap, okay? So that's why that's kind of a waste of time. Now, multiply those and make sure it's 12. 4 times 1 times 3 is 12. So I do the RT and I do the setup shop, but I don't really need those other two roots. Okay, a cube's length is 3 more than the height. The cube's width is 4 more than the height. The volume of the cube is 60 cubic inches. Find the dimensions of the cube. So when I'm talking geometry, make that, then I organize the equation. Now I need the volume base equation, not the area. So that's 3 factors, and then volume over here. We know that the volume is 60, okay? But I got to write that all in the terms of the same variable. That's where those isers become my friend. So length, 3 more than the height, so h plus 3. Width, 4 more than the height, so h plus 4. So in the length, you express that as h plus 3. In the width, you express that as h plus 4. What do you express the height as? Itself, because now it's all in terms. So we need to FOIL these first two into one parentheses, and then I'll still have h to multiply by 1h if you want. Okay, so h times h. Then it's on to h times 4, 3 times h, and 3 times 4. So that's h to the second. You can put the 1 if you want. That's 4h, 3h, and 12. So we got h to the second, and then h, and then the constant. Well, I got 1 for h to the second. For h, 4 plus 3 is 7. And then for the constant, you have 12, but you still now have to multiply by the 1h, okay? So 1h second to 1h, 7h to 1h, and then 12 to 1h. I don't care if you write all this down. I mean, if you just want to multiply it, I'm just showing you what's running through this crazy brain. So that'd be 1. H second times h is h to the third, which makes sense. It's a volume, so you're going to get a variable to the third. 7h second, 12h. So you have 1h cubed plus 7h second plus 12h equals 60. Now h has 3 roots or solutions, but I just need to get one that makes sense, okay? Like a positive. So I subtract 60. So you have 1h to the third plus 7h to the second plus 12h minus 60. Don't use a grouping. You're wasting your time. Because if you set up grouping, you divide those two by 1h to the second, that'd be h plus 7. These would be divided by 12, but that wouldn't be 7. I don't know why I'm writing x, it's h. That'd be 1h minus 5, so they would differ. So if grouping doesn't work, you have to use your RRT theorem. I'll set this up just in case. If I even need it, I'll go to it, but I don't know if I will. Okay, you take your constant at the end on top, your leading coefficient on the bottom. Factors of 60. Unfortunately, 60's got a lot of factors. 160 divided by 2 is 30. Divided by 3 is 20. Divided by 4 is 15. 60 divided by 5 is 12. And then 60 divided by 6 is 10. Then 60 is divided by 7 is a decimal. 60 divided by 8 is a decimal. 60 divided by 9 is a decimal. And then I've already got 10 written down. And then 1. So you got a lot of possibilities. 1 divided by 1 is 1. Plus minus 60. Really, when you're dividing by 1, you can just copy down the top with plus negatives. Plus or minus 3, plus or minus 20, plus or minus 4, plus or minus 15, plus or minus 5, plus or minus 12, plus minus 6, plus minus 10. Okay, those are your possibilities. Now let's put 1 in. 1 times 1 to the third, plus 7 times 1 to the second, plus 12 times 1, minus 60. Nope, 2's on the list, so let's put that in for the h variable. Cha-ching, okay? So 2. Why would I do this when 2's perfectly okay for me to get, okay? I mean, 2's a perfectly logical answer for the height. I don't need anything else, so I go to 2, 2, that's 5, and that's 6. I mean, 5 times 6 times 2 is 30, isn't it? Or 60, isn't it? That's 30 times 2 is 60, yeah. Okay. Okay, then my last one. Cube length is 2 units less than its height. The cube's width is also 2 units less than its height. The volume is 45 cubic units. Find dimensions of the cube. So you're finding the length, the width, and the height. Okay, so now it's volume, so equals 45. Length, width, height. Got to write that all in terms, it's the same variable. L equals, put h, and then 2 less would mean minus 2. Width equals h, 2 less would be minus 2. Okay, so we're going to put h minus 2 for L. W is h minus 2. H would be just itself, okay? Okay, so again, we need to multiply this into one parentheses, at least the first two. You just want to simplify it. So h times h times negative 2, negative 2 times h, and negative 2 times negative 2. H to the second would be 1, negative 2h, another negative 2h. That doesn't make 0. It makes 0 if it's a negative and positive, and that's 4. So for the h second, the h, and the constant, we got 1. This would add to negative 4, and then 4. Now we multiply these all by 1h. So 1h to the second, negative 4h times 1h, and 4 times 1h. So that's 1, h second, h is h third, and then negative 4h, and then 4h. Okay, h second, my bad. So now the parentheses are gone. 1h to the third minus 4h to the second plus 4h equals 45. And now I can solve for h. Okay, let's move the 45 out of here. So we have 1h to the third minus 4h to the second plus 4h minus 45 equals 0. Remember, don't try to do the factor by grouping. Do your rational roots theorem, okay? And then synthetic divide if you had to. I mean, I haven't had to yet, okay? So the constant, 45, and then 1. Well, the only factor of 1 is 1. 45 would be 145. 45 doesn't divide by, it's a decimal. 45 divided by 3 is 15. 45 doesn't divide by 4. Does divide by 5, and you get 9. Then 6, 7, 8, it's all decimals, and you're denied, so you're good. So that's 1, 45, 3, 15, 5, and 9. Now I substitute those in, hoping to get 0. Okay, 1 doesn't do the job. Now try 3. 2's not on the list, so we don't need to waste time with that. Okay, 3 didn't work. Now let's go to 5. See what happens there. Because 4 is not on the list, so I'm not putting in 4 because that's not on the little list of possibilities I created. Okay, I think 5 works. Now don't waste your time dividing by that because 5 is a perfectly good answer, okay? Because then I can take 5 minus 2 on both those and they each are 3. 5 times 3 times 3 is 45.